an experience, an endeavor, which is totally different from your college days. That's a different ball game. You had entered a college as a raw material. The college took you in, processed you, packed you with some knowledge, and stamped BSc or BTech, delivered you as a product. So now you're products of the colleges. But it is not enough to produce. You have to sell the product. You have to market the product. I look at you, you look like the supermarket for me. So many products, so many brands of toothpaste and shampoo. But UPSC buys only 700 out of 1,000,000. So it's a different ball game. Production is over, it is marketing. You have to market yourself. You have to sell yourself to UPSC to convince them, to prove to them how you are better than the others. And when you were in college, you chose a subject. You focused on it. And you became a master. So you were a master of, say, chemistry or physics or political science, but you mastered the subject. But now, the master of one subject has to become a jack of all trades. You have to know about international affairs, foreign policy, public administration, history, geography, government programs. And when you dig into general knowledge, it's like a vast ocean, so deep and so vast. So like a little boat, this big ocean. The more you read, the more you realize how much less you know. கற்றது கையளவு, கல்லாதது உலக அளவு. But even this grand, old, wise Tamil poet lady, she failed in the interview. You know who is that? OIR. The question to her was, சுட்ட பழம் வேண்டுமா சுடாத பழம் வேண்டுமா? Didn't understand the question, like some of you. And she gave the wrong answer. It happened even to the wisest, most learned poet. And we are all mortals. So with this kind of anxiety about inadequacy of knowledge, and you are on your own. There is no college to put a stamp. You have to process yourself. You have to market yourself. With this, understandably, you become anxious, stressed, and overwhelmed. And you don't know where to start, how to go about it, how far to go. I have a secret formula. Where to start, how to go about it, how far to go. It's a simple exercise. It's based on the history of the world, the history of the world civilization. It goes like this. in the beginning of the history of the world, there was Moses, put his hands up and said, God, you are everything. You are omnipotent. I have the utmost faith in you. And after several thousand years, Moses came. Solomon, King Solomon. He put his hands here. He said, man, use your head. Conquer the world. Solve the problems. Conquer the nature. Use your brain. Use your head. And then came Jesus. He put his hands here. Heart. Put your heart into what you do. Become passionate about what you do. Put your whole heart and soul in what you do. You develop a passion. And then came Karl Marx. He put his hands here and said, if this is empty, there will be revolutions. And there were revolutions. Then came Sigmund Freud. Understand? Came Sigmund Freud. So the history evolved from here. It went here. It started with faith, went to knowledge, compassion, hunger, and pleasure, fun. So this is what I call as the path of the F word. You move from the 5-letter F word to the 3-letter F word. Faith, fun. Don't do the 4 letters. So I told you this is the secret formula. Where do you start? How do you go about it? And how far do you go? It's a very short distance, right? From here to here. So you start with faith in yourself. You must believe in yourself before everyone else. And that doesn't come from your textbooks or subject books. You have to have faith in yourself, in your ability, competence. You have to have the spirit, what they call as I can, which is more important than IQ, intelligence quotient. So first you must have the faith. And then use your head, brain, to acquire knowledge, analyze it, critically examine, assimilate it, and use the knowledge with your head. And then, whatever you do, you put your heart and soul in that. And make it as a passion. And then, don't become complacent. Keep up that hunger for knowledge, hunger for success. So you should always have the pangs of hunger here. At the end of it, you should enjoy it. You should enjoy it as fun. So that is from faith, fun. From 5-letter F word to 3-letter F word. Faith to fun. So that is the process. That is the formula. You start with yourself, faith, and enjoy what you do as fun. Be serious. Let me tell you the story of a IAS officer, a district collector. He had gone inspection of infrastructure project in a remote area. After the day's work and inspection was over, he went into the government rest house and wanted to relax, for a drink. And there was nobody else, so he called his personal assistant, who does everything for the collector. So, had a few drinks, and after the drinks, the tongue became a bit loose, and he started talking about everything. And then he asked his personal assistant, "Hey, tell me, is sex work or pleasure? Give me a frank and honest answer. Sex, is it work or pleasure?" The personal assistant, who was equally intoxicated and so was bold, he replied, "Sir, it is a pleasure." So the collector asked, "How is it? Explain it." He says, "If it was work, you would ask me to do it." So logically, it should be a pleasure, right? You have a glass filled with water on the table. There are two guys looking at it. One sees the glass is half empty. So he is not satisfied. He is unhappy. He is sad. He is looking at his own inadequacy of knowledge and expertise and says, "I am half empty." So he is a pessimist, right? You all know that. But the other guy, he looks at this glass as half full. So what does he do? He pours some whiskey in that, some ice cubes, and say, "Cheers." That is positive spirit. That is optimism. That is confidence. So after taking this, he feels that he can walk on the cloud. He can touch the moon and the stars. He looks at himself and says, "Oh, I'm handsome." And looks at his wife, finds her more beautiful. Now you know why my wife lets me drink. That is positive spirit, optimism, and confidence. You need these to supplement and supplant your knowledge, your expertise, what you learn with your head. So they say life, your success in your exam and success and happiness in your life is 1/3 reason, 1/3 passion, and 1/3 vision. The 1/3 reason is facts, reality, knowledge, expertise, what you acquire. But that is only 1/3. And that 1/3 can give you only incremental growth. It can take you from level 1 to level 2, level 3, level 4 with pure 100% knowledge. But When you add the other two-thirds, passion and vision, then you get exponential growth. You jump from level 1 to 100 to 1,000 to million. Like this guy who walks on the clouds, can touch the moon. So the positive spirit, optimism, confidence, it takes you more than what your knowledge takes you. Now, how do you get this positive spirit, optimism, and confidence? It doesn't come from reading your subject book. How do you get it? Please don't go to Tassmark after my lecture, please. I used whiskey only as a metaphor. I come from in my village. There are several of my generation and the younger generation who have been ruined with alcohol. Once I bought a book and gifted to them. The book was about the evils of drinking, the problems, the consequences. I told these guys, read this, what will happen to you if you drink. So next time when I went, I asked them. They didn't give up drinking. They gave up reading. They said, one peg of whiskey has more wisdom than 1,000 books. The philosophy and Vadivelu jokes. So how do you get this positive spirit, optimism, confidence, passion, and vision without going to Tassmark, without drinking whiskey? One of the ways is reading books other than the subject book. There are three kinds of books which can give you inspiration: biographies and autobiographies. Great people, successful people, inspiring. Second, self-help books, personality development, motivational. And the third one, poems, stories, novels. Now, let me tell you my own experience, how my life has been shaped by the non-subjects. When I retired from foreign service in 2012 from Buenos Aires in Argentina, the Argentines in my farewell party gave me a warning and an advice. The warning was this. They said, man, you are like a bird. Depending upon the age, you become a different kind of bird. They said, between the age of 20 and 40, you are like a crow. You eat anything and everything. Don't discriminate. Between the age of 40 and 60, you are like an eagle. You choose what you want to eat. After 60, you become like a parrot. You talk more than you eat. That was the warning. They said you are going to become a parrot. And then they gave an advice. They said, don't stop having fun when you are old. Don't stop fun when you are old. You become old only when you stop having fun. So you become old only when you stop having fun. So I took this advice very seriously and wanted to pursue fun. I wanted to play 7 days of golf and let my hair down and enjoy myself after the retirement. Until I came across this book on the biography of Sridharan. You heard of Sridharan, the engineer called the Metro Man, the Railway Man? You heard of him? Now, what he achieved and became famous for, it happened only after his retirement. He retired at the age of in 1990. Till then, his life was nothing very significant. He joined the railway service as an engineer and rose up in the rank and became a board member in railways. Then after his retirement, the railway department gave him an assignment to do the Konkan Railway project. You heard of that? It goes in the west coast. I had traveled on that one. Very scenic, beautiful. One side you have the ocean, the other side you have the mountain, a lot of lush greenery. Spectacular journey. But it's a complex and most challenging railway project in India. And they gave it to a retired guy. And he did it, took on the challenge, did very well. Then they gave him the metro project, Delhi metro project, involving several thousand crores of rupees. And he created history by completing this project with zero corruption, on time, under the budget. This is something of a revolution. History in India, developing world, and even in the world, when you have such huge projects, multi-billion-dollar projects involving thousands of crores of rupees, everyone wants to put their hands in. Politicians, contractors, engineers. So we all got used to this idea that project means percentage, corruption. And here was this guy, a retired guy, Sridharan, who was courageous and audacious, and he completed a multi-billion-dollar project with zero corruption. He didn't let any politician come anywhere nearby, not even Chidambaram. And he did it very efficiently, competently, using the best materials, bought at the lowest prices, and executed with the utmost competence. This is really remarkable. It is a great inspiration. Inspiration for many of us who think that every day in and day out we see these corruption scandals in the newspapers, we become pessimists. And here is a case of Sridharan, a retired guy, has achieved this remarkable historical revolution for India and for the developing world and the world as a whole. He was able to achieve this project with zero corruption. I found it very inspiring. And not only he did it on his own integrity and competence, he has trained and inspired hundreds of engineers and managers in the railways who are supervising the many metro projects around India. So a whole new breed of railway engineers and managers have got inspired, and they are doing the projects not as audaciously as he did, but with less corruption, more competence, on time and under the budget. You know, in Latin America, they have a story about corruption. There was this minister of public works of Argentina. He visited Brazil and signed memorandum of understanding, agreements, official talks. And after that, the Brazilian invited the Argentine guest to his home for dinner. And when he went to the Brazilian house, the Argentine found that huge mansion full of luxuries. So this Argentine went to the Brazilian and called him aside and said, "Amigo," you know, amigo in Spanish is friend. "Amigo, what is the secret? How did you make so much of money?" So this Brazilian says, "Amigo, come to the window. Do you see that 8-lane highway there?" So the Argentine sees and says, "No, I don't see 8 lanes. I see only 4 lanes." Ah. Next time, the Brazilian visited Argentina. Same thing happened. Official talks, signing of MOU, agreements, and then evening dinner in the house of the Argentine Public Works Minister, which was even more luxurious, bigger, big villa with more luxuries. So now it was the turn of the Brazilian, the Argentine to ask the Brazilian to ask the Argentine, "Amigo, what is your secret?" He said, come to the window. Do you see that 4-lane expressway? I don't see anything. Ah. So this corruption in large projects and infrastructure is a worldwide phenomenon, all over the world. Even in China, they had the high-speed projects, but the guy who was in charge of that is in jail. It happened in United States. They were called the robber barons who were involved in the railway projects in the 19th century. Now, in this kind of history and tradition, here is a retired guy, Sridharan, who had the audacity, courage, conviction, competence, and people management skill to do such a large multi-billion-dollar project with zero corruption. I was very inspired. So now I play less golf, do more work. The other book which inspired me and my whole family was this book called The Road Ahead. Anyone? Bill Gates. In the early 1990s, he wrote this book called The Road Ahead. I read it. I was floored. So I gave it to my little kids, one in 8th grade, the other one in 6th grade. They read and they were inspired. I gave it to my wife, she was inspired. The result was both of my kids, they decided they would go only into IT. And they are now IT professionals. If I was young enough, I would have done the same thing. Because this is another historical, revolutionary development in world history. Bill Gates was the first youngest guy who became a billionaire in this new era of knowledge business, knowledge industry, IT, computer revolution, information revolution. He was the first one. He was the pioneer. He used his brain, he had a passion, and he had a vision. He had all one third, one third, one third. Reason, passion, and vision. And achieved success. He made money, billions. He became famous. More than that, he revolutionized the world. He revolutionized the lives of you and me. The way we work, entertain ourselves, interact with people. He was the pioneer. Bill Gates, the road ahead. And I bought lots of copies of this. I gave to my nephews and nieces. They don't ask me. They're all working for TCS and Cognizant. The third book which influenced me and inspired me last year was a book on Gandhi. Not one book, 3 books. Authored by Ramachandra Guha. Heard of him? Ramachandra Guha is like a rock star. When I heard that he was going to give a lecture in India International Center in New Delhi, I went. The lecture was at 6:30. He was talking about internationalism in the works of Tagore and Gandhi. Very esoteric subject. I thought, how many people are going to be there? So I went a bit late, 10 minutes. I reached there by 6:40. But the hall was full, packed. Not even standing room. And most people in the audience were younger than you. On a subject, history, esoteric subject. So I was very impressed. And then I came to know that he has written 3 books on Gandhi. One, Gandhi before he reached India, how he evolved in UK and South Africa. The second book is on Gandhi and India, how he led the freedom struggle, how he aligned his goals with those of India. And the third, India after Gandhi, influence he left behind. It was fascinating. I had read I'm sure some of you would have read Experiments with Truth, his autobiography. But these 3 books go much beyond that. Gandhi wrote what he felt, what he did, or what he didn't do. But Guha has gone and interviewed the other people who had interacted with him. He had seen the correspondence of what people wrote to him and the replies sent by Gandhi. He read the works of people who criticized Gandhi, who were against Gandhi. And he went to people who admired Gandhi. So he has done a holistic book on Gandhi which brings the full-fledged personality of Gandhi. I found it fascinating. And what I came to know? Like I was telling you about the inadequacy of knowledge which makes us anxious. When Gandhi started he went to UK, studied law, came back, and started his law practice in Bombay. It was a complete failure. He didn't get any clients. He was sitting in his office and no one came. That is why when he got this offer to go and represent some Indians in South Africa, he quickly jumped on that opportunity and went, because he was a failure as a lawyer in Bombay. He went there to South Africa, and in South Africa, in the courts, he cut a miserable figure. He was not an articulate man. He was not eloquent. To be a lawyer, That is the basic skill you need. He was not articulate, he was not eloquent, he was not expressive. And so even the judges didn't think very highly of him. Then he focused on writing petitions, affidavits, rather than arguing cases. That picked up. Then he saw the discrimination meted out to the Indians by whites. They wouldn't allow Indians to sit in the same class. You might have read about this. And when he started these things, the Indians themselves were not unified under him. For example, one of the biggest opposition for him was a Tamil guy called Thambi Naidu. And he went around telling the Tamil community people that, hey, here is a Gujarati, he's working only for the Gujarati people, merchants. And what does he have to do with us? We are Tamils, and the Tamils were laborers, whereas the Gujaratis were merchants. He said, no, he doesn't represent our interests. So he had the challenge to convince Thambi Naidu, and he did that. And he became a great friend and joined the struggle. He went to jail many times. And then he came to India. When he came to India, he had zero knowledge about India, because his formative years he had spent in UK and South Africa. He didn't know anything about India. So he went around to familiarize himself, to interact with people, understand India. And look at the situation. Now, he spoke Gujarati, Hindi, and English. But in India at that time, and even now, only about 40% of the people, anyway, less than 50% of the people spoke these languages together. But he traveled through Tiruvannamalai and Chittoor and Orissa, and he reached out to people, more than 50% of the people who didn't understand a word of what he said. But he managed to reach out to them and convince them to join the struggle. When you're a politician, the easiest thing is to let the guys go on a protest, throw stones on the buses, stop the traffic. That is the easiest thing to do. To incite people into violence and to do something quick. But he did the opposite. He told people to go the way of non-violence, which is very difficult to convince people. And then not only non-violence by not harming other people, but subjecting yourself to be harmed. If the police beats you, take it. Go to jail, suffer. Now, if you do this now, how many people will follow you? But he managed to convince millions and millions of Indians who didn't understand a word of what he said to follow this unconventional and the most challenging, most difficult path of non-violence and get themselves hurt, beaten, go to jail and suffer. This is remarkable. And the most remarkable thing I found was that he was able to straddle contrasting worlds, opposite sections, opposite poles. Normally you identify yourself with a party or ideology, a class or a group or a caste, language. We are all animals like that, you know. We are a herd mentality. But Gandhiji was able to ride both sides. He was able to ride with the rich and ride with the poor. He stayed in the houses of Birlas, working for the poor people. And he stayed in the houses of the poor people. And he didn't tell them that, oh, you must burn the house of Birla. He put seeds of compassion and charity in the heart of Birlas and Tatas. And he stayed with the rich people, worked for them, and told them, don't hate those people. You have to develop yourself. Now, this is something very interesting. Staying with the rich and staying with the poor and making them come around for a common goal. He stayed with the fundamentalists. And he was the most fundamentalist religious person, not only in Hinduism, but he read Christianity, Islam, and Jewish books and interacted with them. At the same time, he was at home with the most progressive, liberal, leftist, revolutionary people. And he was at home with the whites and the browns. He moved with the Indians and he moved with the whites. And he earned their respect. You know, when one of the judges sentenced Gandhi to some jail, after delivering the judgment, the judge wept, he cried. And he apologized. I'm so sorry to be doing this to you because my conscience doesn't permit it. But I'm a judge. I have to do my karma. So by law, I have to sentence you to this. But I admire you. Your spirit of sacrifice, what you are doing. You are a great human being. And he cried. And he worked with educated, sophisticated, Cambridge and Oxford returned people, and he worked with the illiterate people with ease and comfort, talking their language. For example, when he started this salt march, walk to Dundee and go and fetch salt. You know, the educated people who were the ICS collectors in those days, they sent reports to London saying that, oh, this guy is crazy. He is going on a long walk, march to go and collect salt. It doesn't excite people. In any case, salt is not a great source of revenue for the British Empire. So if he doesn't pay the salt tax, we are not going to be ruined. So they sent reports to London saying that not to worry. But they didn't understand and realize Gandhi did this for the illiterate people. The illiterate people don't understand democracy, right to expression, right to faith. They understand salt. Use every day. You need it. And he says, this is salt, you get it from the sea. Why do you have to pay tax to the guy sitting in UK? They understood. They joined him. So he beat the educated people, their perspectives and their perceptions by understanding correctly how to stimulate and make the illiterate people interested in his cause. And the Salt March was a milestone. It mobilized illiterate millions of people of India. Felt very inspired. Then the fourth book, which I got inspiration from, I think 2 years back, is the book about Elon Musk. Elon Musk. More people know about him. This guy is amazing. He started Tesla cars, electric cars. Normally, car is not a product, it is an industry run by large corporations with deep pockets, with big money. But he started like a IT startup, like a cottage industry. He said, I'm going to produce electric cars. And he did it. And he revolutionized the car market. You buy a Tesla car, you buy any other car, you have to buy petrol at 70 rupees a liter, you have to keep fueling it. But you buy a Tesla car, that's it. It's taken care of lifelong. So it goes for 400 kilometers for single charge, and then you get free recharging on the highway. And the recharging facilities are charged by solar facilities. So it's completely revolutionized by taking on these large Ford Motors and General Motors and Toyota, by starting this kind of startup electric cars. Now everyone is started producing it. But even more audacious is his company called SpaceX. You heard of them? Space business, space industry, satellites and rockets, been done only by the governments, NASA and ISRO and Russians and Chinese governments, who have large number of scientists, engineers, technicians, lot of money, big budget. But this guy, again, he started SpaceX as like a startup in a garage. But when he started, he didn't have enough knowledge about rockets and satellites and space science. So he read books. He read dozens of books, acquired knowledge. Then he went and met these scientists and technicians and experts and shared whatever knowledge he had acquired with them. He challenged them. He asked them questions for which they didn't have answer, and started this SpaceX like a startup with engineers and scientists who were sold on his vision. And he said, you should produce a Mercedes with the cost of a budget for a Maruti Suzuki. So he pressurized, chased all the scientists and the technicians that you must produce the lowest cost. You must use the alternative materials. You must use newer technologies. But the budget is very low. And this is an area where his knowledge was very, very inadequate, which he made up by reading and interacting with the scientists. And he made it as a success. Today, SpaceX is the one and only private firm in the world which can send the heaviest satellites. And more, like when you send a satellite, when you use the rocket, it burns, it's gone. But he has developed the technology for reusable rockets. The rocket takes the satellite up and then comes back and falls. You retrieve it and you can reuse it. Something remarkable, revolutionary. A knowledge-based business, knowledge-based industry with this kind of audacious mindset. A guy who collected knowledge, acquired knowledge and expertise through reading of books. Now he is into solar business also. He wants to, all of us to have houses with solar roofs. You have sun all the time. You get the power and you give it to a neighbor or you sell it to the grid. I found this Elon Musk, the book about him, very inspiring. Now, I told you there are three kinds of books: biographies and autobiographies. Second is self-help books, personality development. And third, poems and stories and novels. Now, let me come to the self-help books. Few of us, maybe 1 in 100, have the natural talent, natural balance, natural maturity. But most of us, including me, we need to introspect and reflect on our personality, the way we talk, the way we behave, the way we deal with each other, the habits we have, the priorities we have in spending energy. Because in our human nature, we have the angel and the devil. We have the beauty and the beast. We have good natures and we have not so good natures. We have constructive spirit and we also have destructive inclinations. So you need to analyze yourself once in a while to see, for course correction, to refine your personality, to create an environment around the right people, right ecosystem for you to flourish. So that is where these self-help books, the personality development books, it helps you to look at yourself inside, to refine yourself. For example, one of the books which was a revelation for me was this book by Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I think it's too old a book for you. The title of the book is How to Win Friends and Influence People. Dale Carnegie. I think it sold over 4 million copies, one of the bestsellers in the 1930s. And Dale Carnegie gives a small story. As a guy who is walking and see another man dragging his dog, which is barking. The dog doesn't want to walk, so the other guy is dragging it, and the dog keeps barking, creating noise pollution and nuisance in the street. So this guy goes to the dog owner and tells him, "Hey, you have a beautiful dog. It's so cute, so nice. Where did you get it? How old is this?" I said, "Huh?" And then he gave some responses, and this guy went away. And from the distance, he sees back. This guy has taken his dog on his lap and kissing it. Ooh, sweetie, cutie. He didn't know the beauty and cuteness of his dog until the other guy told him. So now, Dale Carnegie says, by saying something positive to the owner of the dog, he has made the owner happy, he has made the dog happy, And he is also happy that he has made the others happy. Very, very simple thing. But we are many times impulsive and we say things which we regret. We do things which we regret. Here is a simple case of how, with just one word, is saying that, oh, you got a beautiful dog, how the life of 3 people have changed. I mean, 2 people and 1 dog. Huh? Everyone became happy. This is something extraordinary. So like this, you come across gems of things which would provoke you, stimulate you, and to analyze yourself, to correct your course, refine yourself, make yourself a better person, and create an ecosystem around you. The third set of books I told you are essential, are poems, stories, and novels. No, you shouldn't be realistic all the time, sensible, correct. You have to let your hair down once in a while. Go crazy. Fill your mind with fantasies and dreams, illusions. You need that. Otherwise, sometimes reality is unbearable. You become a bit romantic. Like, for example, I became romantic after reading this poem. குக்கு கூவென்று குயில் பாடும் பாட்டினிலும் ஏற்ற நீர் பாட்டின் இசையினிலும் நெல்லிடித்து கோற்றொடியார் குக்கு கூவென கொஞ்சும் ஒலியினிலும் வட்டமிட்டு பெண்கள் வலைக்கரங்கள் தாமொலிக்க கொட்டி இசைத்திடுவோர் கூட்டமுத பாட்டினிலும் நாட்டினிலும் காட்டினிலும் நாளெல்லாம் நன்றொலிக்கும் பாட்டினிலும் நெஞ்சை பறிகொடுத்தேன் பாவி. நாட்டினிலும் காட்டினிலும் நாளெல்லாம் நன்றொலிக்கும் பாட்டினிலும் நெஞ்சை பறிகொடுத்தேன் பாவியே. You understood. And it goes further. காதலை வேண்டி கரைகின்றேன், இல்லையெனில் சாதலை வேண்டி தவிக்கின்றேன். காதலை வேண்டி கரைகின்றேன், இல்லையெனில் சாதலை வேண்டி தவிக்கின்றேன். I became romantic ever since I read this poem of Bharadiyar. You heard of this? Kuil Pattu. And it completely changed my life. Ever since I read, I have remained as a completely incurable romantic fool. The psychologists say, no, I can't get over this. It made me a romantic. Also, there are poems which inspire you to be audacious. There is this song in Silappadigaram. There is Kannagi, after her husband is killed by the king of Madurai, because the king thought he had stolen the Silambu. So she goes to the palace of the king of Madurai with the other Silambu. Goes to the gate and tells the guard, Vailoye, Vailoye, அறிவரை போகிய பொறியரை நெஞ்சத்து இறைமுறை புழைத்தோன் வாயிலோய். What an audacity. And when she finally gets to meet the king, she says, Tera manna, எப்போது உடையேன், it's remarkable. Silappadigaram happened, what, 2000 years back. And here you have a common housewife going to a king and shattering his greatness, asking for justice. It's so powerful, so inspiring. Era manna, இப்போது உடையேன். The king died. யானோ அரசன், யானே கல்வன். And there are lots of books, story books. Like, for example, one of the first books which inspired me, மலர்களிலே அவள் மல்லிகை, இந்துமதி. You wouldn't have read this. It is a romantic novel. The hero in that novel, he gets up in the morning, drinks tea, and then thinks about his lover. I started drinking tea. To this day, I drink tea in the morning. I have read the novels of Kalki, Ponniyin Selvan, Sivagamiyin Sabadam, Parthivan Kanavu. I told you I come from a village near Tiruchirappalli, and there is a big river called Kollidam, Kaveri. Even now, when I walk in the sands of Kollidam, I remember Vandiyathevan, hero of Ponniyin Selvan. He walks through the Kollidam river. I can't get over it. And besides these kind of romantic novels, there are also novels which sort of simulate social causes, like Jayakantan. I'm a great fan of Jayakantan. It makes you think alternative thoughts. And the last book which changed my life permanently in midlife, when I was, how old I was? At the age of 44, I read a book called Love at the Time of Cholera. I was posted in New York, and I was browsing the books in Barnes and Noble, and I saw this title. I thought it was weird. Love at the Time of Cholera. Strange. So I, out of curiosity, said, let me buy. I bought it, I read it again, read it a dozen times. I fell for it. Incurable romantic. And that book opened me to Latin America. Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Then I read his other famous book called 100 Years of Solitude. And then I went on to read every book written by him. Fiction, non-fiction, essays. I read every book of Gabriel Garcia Marquez. And I myself wrote a book. It's called Malgudi to Macondo. The journey of an innocent Indian through the seductive Latin America. Well, that describes and it exemplifies, and it gives my life. Malgudi to Macondo. Now, you know of Malgudi? There is a restaurant in Savera Hotel. Malgudi is the fictional town in the novels of R.K. Narayan. Now, the characters in this book, they are like my cousins and myself. Small town, simple people, modest people with low aspirations, God-fearing, typical, rural, small town folk. And people God-fearing and innocent. That is Malgudi. So Malgudi to Macondo. Now what is Macondo? Macondo is the fictional capital in the novels of Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Macondo. There is no town. It's the same like Malgudi. But Macondo is the opposite pole of Malgudi. It's a very complex, romantic place of magical realism. And you know what is magical realism? Magical realism is the signature contribution of Latin America to world literature. Now, I can explain to you in a kind of layman's terms. Like, for example, when I went to Brazil for the first time, they invited me to give a lecture. So I asked, how long do I give a talk? They said, Ambassador, your speech should be like a mini skirt. Short enough to arouse interest, but sufficiently long enough to cover the area of interest. That's magical realism. So I fell for it. So after reading this book, Love at the Time of Cholera, and discovering this Macondo, I lost my innocence. Poor man. So after the age of 44, I have become passionate about Latin America. I spent 12 years. Brazil, Argentina, Venezuela, I've been to every place. I have read many of the major authors, novels, poems. I follow their politics. I follow the economies, markets. I have a blog called Latin America, one called businesswithlatinamerica.com. Blogspot.com is a blog on markets, economy, macroeconomic situation. And I have a blog called Latin American Affairs, blogspot.com. Affairs, hot, politics, history, literature, society. So this poor, innocent man from Malgudi has now gone to the other side of Macondo, of magical realism. Completely changed. Now, I said you must read books outside your subject book. But the process of learning, it is in 4 stages. First, you start from scratch. You don't know what you don't know. Like my mother doesn't know about G7 summit. Second stage, when you push, you become curious. You know what you don't know. Come to know what you don't know. And the third stage, you know what you know. And the fourth stage, you know more than what others know. Sounds like Vadivelu? Look at vocabulary. There are many words we don't know, but we don't know that we don't know those words, right? Only when you read, you come to know, oh, there's a word I didn't know. You check. Until then, you don't know. Okay? Or something, a subject or anything you don't know, and then you Google it and find. So this is the first stage. You come to know what you do not know. And then the third stage, you know what you know. Like, for example, the word which you saw in the dictionary in your reading appears next time in another book. Then you know, I know this word, familiar. I know what I know. And in the third stage, you know more than what others know. Now, you not only know this particular word, but you use it. Use it as your own. You deploy it. You empower it. You make it as your language. Okay? So you become master of that word. That is the fourth stage. I'll give you an example with the Chinese high-speed railways. You know, from the revolution in 1949 till they opened up the economy in 1978, the Chinese did not know that there were high-speed rails. So they were closed. They had no access to information. The government shielded them. They didn't allow them to know about the world. So they did not know that high-speed trains exist in the rest of the world. When they opened 1978 till about 1990 or so, they know that, oh, there are high-speed trains in other countries, in Japan, in France. So they came to know, there are high-speed trains in other. Then after 1990, the Chinese wanted to build high-speed trains, but they had no expertise, no equipments, no management skills. So what did they do? They went to Alstom, they went to General Electric, they went to Toshiba, they went to Mitsubishi, they went to Siemens, and asked these companies to come and build high-speed trains. Now, since 2010, the Chinese know more about high-speed trains than anybody else. Today, out of the 50,000 kilometers of high-speed trains in the world, over 30,000 are in China. The fastest train in the world, which uses the magnetic levitation technology, is in China. It goes from Shanghai city to the airport. So when I was traveling in that last year, there was a German sitting next to me. I said, no, part of this project was done by Siemens, German company. I asked him, do you have this train in Germany? He said, no. So the Chinese who did not know about high-speed trains until 1978. And then when they wanted to build, they had no knowledge, they had no expertise, they had no skills. They got others to build the train. But now since 2010, not only they have become the leader in high-speed trains in the world, they have become the masters of this technology and this project management. Today, the Chinese state railway company is the only one which can do integrated, complete projects in any country. Like in San Francisco, when they call for tender, the cheapest and the best was the Chinese one. Of course, in America, they don't have high-speed trains. Backward. It's amazing. You see, they got the technology from Siemens and Toshiba and Alstom and General Electric. They all supplied parts of technology, some areas. But the Chinese had put them all together and mastered it, absorbed, assimilated. And now they have become the global leaders, not only having the largest network of high-speed trains, but also with the capacity and the skill to do this project better and cheaper than any other country or any other company in the world. That is the fourth stage. Right. But these four stages of learning was true of my own Latin America knowledge. You know, before 1996, I reached Brazil. I didn't know about Latin America. I had no idea, no interest, no knowledge. So when I reached there, 96 to 2000, I knew what I did not know. And then to 2004, I knew something. And then since 2004, I know more about Latin America than most Indians do. So they call me as an expert. Expert is the one who knows more than the other people. Well, I give lectures in chambers of commerce, CII, FICCI, where the businessmen in India, they think that, oh, Latin America is too far. The freight should be very expensive. So Latin America is not that important for our exports. I tell them, hey guys, last year we exported $305 million to Guatemala, $196 million to Cambodia. Now, Guatemala is 15,000 kilometers away. When you ship an item, it takes over 2 months to reach there. And you have to do transshipment. It's a remote place. No one has heard of Guatemala. But Cambodia, everyone knows, just 2,000 kilometers in our backyard. But we did more exports to the distant Guatemala than to the close by neighbor, Cambodia. And they open their eyes. Oh, is it? I tell them about this company called UPL, United Phosphorus Limited. This is the largest Indian agrochemical company. Largest Indian agrochemical company. Today, they do more business in Brazil than in India. In Brazil, they do $1.2 billion. In India, they do less than $1 billion. And in Latin America, they do 34% of their global turnover of $4.2 billion. Indians open their eyes. We didn't know. That is expertise. So, when you start with curiosity, getting to know things, getting to know what you don't know, and then what you know, and then in the fourth stage, you become a specialist, expert. You become a master of your knowledge, your language, your skills. You become distinct, distinguished. You stand out. That is the process of learning. Now, apart from reading books, there is one other part of the ecosystem you should pay attention. That is to the people around you. There are all kinds of people. People who like you, who dislike you, who encourage you, discourage you, make you optimist, make you pessimist. There are all kinds of people. But you can, to an extent, you can create an ecosystem, an environment around you of people who could nurture your growth, who could support your reaching your goals, who can encourage you, who can share your joys and offer sympathy when you are in trouble. So, like 3 kinds of books I said you need 3 kinds of contacts around you. 3 kinds of people. You know, once, and I asked a friend of mine, a Brazilian, I asked, how old are you? You know, the Latin Americans are a bit mischievous. So he gave me a magical realism answer. For a simple question, how old are you? He said, I have 3 different ages. He said, one here, and one below. Here, I'm like a 70-year-old, wise man, pure, balanced. And here, I'm like a 7-year-old, innocent. My legs are strong. There it is, like I'm 17. So you need contacts to nurture these 3 parts. Among your circle of friends, you need, for heart, you need admirers who are on the same wavelength as you, who will sympathize with you, who will encourage you, who will share your joy, who appeal to your heart, who admire you. They think that you are a great hero, you are the best. It could be a little brother, little sister, or it could be a girlfriend or boyfriend, it could be a mother, or it could be anyone, but someone who admires you as an individual, who has your best interests. And when you see them, you have a smile, and you feel better because they think that you are a hero, you are meant for something. They bring the adrenaline in you. And the other, the strong legs, you need competitors. You need colleagues who say, okay, I can beat you, I can run faster than you. So you need competition. You need other peers with whom you can compare your performance, how far you have come, how fast you can run. So you need competition, not just only admiration. And the third, for the head, you need mentors. People who have more experience, more wisdom, more maturity, who see the larger picture. Doesn't mean retired people like me. But it could be anyone who has a larger picture in which he considers you as only a small part. Unlike an admirer who sees you bigger than anything, so the mentor sees you as a small part of something bigger. This is the bigger picture. So you need these three kinds of acquaintances, friends, and contacts. Admirers to make you feel good, you feel great. Competitors who will kick you and run faster. And mentors who will advise you, who will show you the way, who would see the larger picture and your role in it. I give you an example of this, again from another book, the biography of Verghese Kurian. You heard of him? The father of the White Revolution. I read his book 2 years back. Now, Verghese Kurian, as they say, was born with a silver spoon from a rich family. His uncle called O.P. Mathai, he was director in Tata Steel. So when he finished his engineering, he got a job in Tata Steel. He was an intern. And then he got a scholarship to go to US. But you couldn't choose a subject. They only gave you a scholarship and they forced a subject on you. So the subject he was given was dairy engineering. So he went to US on a government scholarship. He studied dairy industry. Came back suited and booted and very elegant, fashionable, talking about New York all the time, trying to impress his girlfriends. But when he came for a job, the government of India posted him to Anand in Kaira district, interior Gujarat. And by the time his uncle became, O.P. Mathai became the finance minister. So he ran to his uncle, "Uncle, please change me, get me out of this one." The uncle in those days was he had that Gandhian spirit, and so he said, "You got a scholarship, so you have to return the service. Go back to Kaira, Anand. You have to do the bonded service there." So he went there. He went to Anand, Kaira district in Gujarat. He hated the place. He disliked it. He couldn't even wear his shoes. It was all so dirty and muddy. He couldn't put on his suit and tie. It was so hot. Illiterate people, backward agricultural community, farmers, hated. He was a total misfit. He was away from anything else. Anand in Kaira district is in the middle of nowhere. So he felt very miserable. He was angry with himself. I thought he has been punished. Until one day, the president of the Kaira district cooperative milk society walked into his office. His name is Tribhuvan Das Patel. He was a congressman, a Gandhi follower, and he was the president of the society. And he was a noble soul, dedicated his life like Gandhi for the service of the community, without any personal wealth, without any personal stake, personal interest. And he came and requested Kurian very humbly, "Please, you have got Western education, you know the technology, can you please help us turn around this old the milk dairy unit they had? Can you please help? It will help the poor people here, the women here, and can you please do something?" He asked very humbly, very modestly, very piously. And our friend Verghese Kurian was humbled. He lost his ego. And it was a moral force, but he obeyed it and started taking interest in his work and worked worked, started liking the rural people, started liking the cows and buffaloes, and started producing milk with a new vision, new passion. In those days, India was dependent upon import of milk powder, and we didn't have enough foreign exchange to pay for the milk powder. We used to get it as aid from European Union and United States when I was in school. Now, Korean revolutionized this. Today, India is the largest producer of milk in the world. And we export milk products to European Union. You go to New York, you find the Amul products there. He did it with a passion and vision, using his reason, but all this because of one Tribhuvan Das Patel, the mentor. One person. He completely changed his life, his outlook and attitude, his spirit. And he became a noble soul himself. And he has empowered the rural areas, the women, and the villages. It is a remarkable revolution. Today, other developing countries in the world are coming to India to learn from our Anand experiment and experience. But all this happened because Varghese Kurian, who totally disliked the rural area and the dirty Anand and Kaira district, he got inspired by Tribhuvan Das Patel. And his life was transformed. And he transformed the country, he transformed our economy, he transformed our people. So that is why you need these three kinds of people. Now, I would come to the concluding part. One thing I want to mention is that, I know you're all very serious. You don't even laugh. Huh? We are so obsessed, you're focused, but you need to relax a bit. You need to loosen up. You should focus on your goal and your preparation, but you should also give some concession to your body and your spirit and heart. Listen to music, see movies, do something to reduce the tension, to take away the tension, the stress. And one of the things which helps you is go for a run. You fit, and the healthy body gives rise to a healthy mind, and it generates adrenaline. Feel better. You feel better with yourself. Or play games like Sindhu, badminton or table tennis or anything. I went to learn golf. But when you learn any game, it is very frustrating. I would hit 10 shots, only one would go right. I was very frustrated. So I asked my coach, what do I do? He said, the difference between a professional and amateur is this. When a professional hits a bad shot, he doesn't know what went wrong. But when an amateur hits a good shot, he doesn't know what went right. So he said, you need to practice. You need to increase your percentage from 1 out of 10, make it 2, 3, 4, 5. The more you practice, the luckier you get, the better you get. Huh? So consistency, not just one brilliant shot and then you screw up yourself. So I improved my percentage. But then I was frustrated again. I went to him and said, hey, you know, I'm not perfect. What can I do? So then he gave me his wisdom. He said, you know, to enjoy golf and sex, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be a professional. You don't have to 100% competence. Anyone can enjoy without being perfect. Now that applies to your civil service exam. You don't have to be perfect to be selected. They are not looking for Einstein or Bill Gates, 160 IQ. No. Have you seen marathons? In Chennai, they should be having one. They have New York, all over the world. You find several thousands of people run marathon. How many of them want to win? How many? 10, 20, 30? The rest are all running for fun, to brag to their friends. Oh, I did the run. Huh? Join the crowd but not wanting, seeking to win. So this your civil service exam is like a marathon. Run. Because somebody thinks that his father, his friends are doing it, he should do it. Or, there's a prospective father-in-law, he says, he should become a collector, so you do that. So people do all kinds of things. But the people who run marathon to win, only few. Now, UPSC selects what? How many? 700 people? But you don't worry about the million people plus who apply. They are the marathon runners. The real competition should be from about 7,000 people. 1:10. So you have to be better than the other 9. That's all. You forget these thousands and millions and get overwhelmed and disheartened. So the competition is much more limited than you think. And they are not looking for the absolute most intelligent, capable, competent, mature, balanced individual. No. They need 700 every year. Okay? So it's a relative, comparative. So you don't have to be perfect to get selected to UPSC. That reminds me of the story of a Chinese and an American. They are trekking and hiking through a forest. And they stop for lunch on a tree. They're having lunch. And then suddenly they hear the roar of a lion from a distance. The Chinese guy quickly drops his food and puts on the shoe, running shoe. And the lion is coming. So the American looks at him and says, hey, you think you are going to outrun the lion? Why run and get caught? So the Chinese guy looks at him and says, hey, I don't have to outrun the lion. I have to just outrun you. If I run faster, the lion will catch you. By the time it finishes you, I am out. So you don't have to outrun the lion. you have to outrun only the one next to your peers. These 10, not thousands. That reminds me of a story from my old college. I studied in a college called AVVM Pushpam College, Pundi. A. Viraya Vandayar Memorial Pushpam College, Pundi. It is near Tanjavur. It's a rural college. And apart from us, walking 4-5 kilometers to the college from the nearby villages, students used to come from this town called Tanjavur. And the only main mode of transport was by train. So they would come from Tanjavur to Pundi. And their main excitement is pulling the chain and stopping the train. Wherever it stops, they go walk around. Fun, causing misery to all the other passengers. So they are famous and notorious for that. So once the students of a college in Tanjavur called Sarfoji College, they are from the town. So they thought they were superior to this poor village Pundi College guy. So once they traveled in the train, 3 from the Sarfoji College, they traveled in the train from Tanjavur to Pundi with 3 boys from the Pundi College. So the 3 Tanjavur boys bought 3 tickets. And the 3 Pundi College students bought 1 ticket. So, and the conductor, ticket examiner came. The 3 Pundi guys quickly went into the bathroom, locked it. And so the ticket examiner knew that someone is in the bathroom. He comes and knocks. So this guy just opens slightly and just shows the ticket. Like this. He punches it and goes. Smart. So these Tanjavur Sarfoji College students thought, hey, these guys are really smart. These Pundi village rural guys. So next time on the return journey coming from Pundi to Tanjavur, the 3 Sarfoji College students bought 1 ticket. And the 3 Pundi College students bought 0 ticket. What to be smarter than the other? Huh? So how does it play? So the ticket examiner comes. Now the Sarfoji College students are more nervous because they are new to this business. They have not done it earlier. They are in a panic. And there is only 1 bathroom. So they quickly run before the Pundi students. Quickly run, lock it, knock on the door. So they open and just show the ticket. And the Pundi College guy takes away the ticket. Just a bit smarter and faster. So you don't have to be perfect. And you remember the formula? 5-letter F word to 3-letter F word. Faith to fun. 1/3 reason, 1/3 passion, and 1/3 vision. 3 kinds of books: biographies, autobiographies, self-help books, and stories, novels, and poems. காதலை ஏங்கி கரைகின்றேன். And you need 3 kinds of acquaintances: admirers, competitors, and mentors. Thank you. All the best. Upon the individual, your talents, your weaknesses, your circumstances, and so depending upon that, you have to choose your path. Not convinced? That's a good sign. You see, people who are ignorant, they don't know what they don't know. So the first stage is having doubts, confusion, and curiosity. That's a good sign. Anything else? Yeah? Oh, thanks. Yeah? Hmm? I agree. That's why I said, காதலை வேண்டி கரைகின்றேன் இல்லையெனில் சாவதை வேண்டி தவிக்கின்றேன். Yeah, close one by one. You have my website or how do you do it? I put ambassadorviswanathan.com. No, just Ambassador Viswanathan. Let me do it. Just put ambassadorviswanathan.com. Hold on. No. How do you do it? Mr. Mac. Viswanathan. No, one word. .com. All right. How do you put your home? No. Just go to ambassadorviswanathan.com, the home page. This one. Google search. Okay. Just it's your speech and all. So it is there, sir. It comes. Here it is coming. Okay, you do that, and then you cut out that books. How do you remove this? Oh, one moment. This one. One moment. Okay. No, one moment. How do you delete it? Cut out that books and just put .com. Okay. Well, I wanted to show you. This is what happened after I read the book Love at the Time of Cholera. This is my book, Malgudi to Makkondo. And then you can read what is on the left. So here is my story. Okay. Now I have this side, a section called stories. These are the stories I write. Some are true, some are not so true. Some are magical realism. My stories, but most of them on Latin America except a few on India. Is it? I go to. Oh, here it is. Okay, this is my blog. This is the Latin American Affairs blog. This is what about this Brazilian president called Bolsonaro. You can see. Then I have this one on a business blog. This is about markets, economies, and business. Then I have floating wheat. This is about non-Latin American stuff. I write about India, I write about Elon Musk and non-Latin American stuff. Here you have my speeches. So you can see I have given over 100 speeches in YouTube, of which about 50-60 are in pure Spanish, which I spoke in Argentina. So I have a YouTube channel. So this is my YouTube channel. So you can see the speeches here, including the one I made here last time. Okay. Then I have my articles, publications, and yeah, you see golf also. You see that? I'm hitting. Okay. Then the books which influenced me. So I have given the list of the books, and I have written book reviews in my blogs. And of course, here is all music, the songs I liked, and so on. Now, this is a little portion about the business with Latin America, about the trade and the investment, joint ventures, what you have done. So you are welcome to see these in ambassadorviswanathan.com. Okay. I would also like to introduce to you a colleague of mine, Ambassador Mahalingam. Please. He has just retired, fresh. So you should also read the Sridharan's book about achievements after retirement. So he is just retired from Guyana. He was ambassador there. And he's got a lot of experience in different parts of the world. Unlike me, I have become a Haryanvi now. I'm settled in Gurgaon. He is here in Chennai, and he could be your mentor, and you can feel free to contact him through Shankar's. Okay, any other questions? No questions. Yep. IFS officer. Oh, you have to be a bit crazy. Because you see, when we joined foreign service, you had to be in the top to get selected to foreign service, and even for the interview, they had higher marks than IAS. You know how I joined the foreign service? Out of sheer ignorance. I didn't know. You know, when I saw the UPSC prospectus, said Indian Foreign Service, IAS, income tax, I put in the same order, my preference. Didn't use my mind. And so I got selected. So then after I got selected, I had never met any officers. So I told one of my friends, can I introduce me to somebody? So he took me to the lady collector in Madras at that time called Rati Vinay Jha. She was collector in Madras, and eventually she became the Secretary of Culture. And she had one look at me and said, "Oh, you're given the wrong choice. You're a country bumpkin from Pundi Pushpam College. So you will be a total misfit like that Varghese Kurian in this elegant, sophisticated, high-flown diplomatic world." So then I asked her, can I change? She said, no. In those days, they had no, I don't know if they allow change now. So so no change allowed. So out of my sheer ignorance, I joined foreign service. And initially, of course, I had to outgrow my Pundi Pushpam College background. It was a lot of struggle and all kinds of adventures and experience. And I survived that. And then I started enjoying it. And if you give me a choice now, I would join foreign service because I like fun. But I know some of you like power, influence. Huh? People take IAS. So now the people who apply for IFS is very small. And so they give second choice, third choice. So people after 200th rank or 300th rank, they join the foreign service. Because people give first choice as IAS. That's where there's power, the clout, and you're a hero for your own people. In my village, they don't know what is an ambassador. The only thing they saw was the ambassador car. So, they thought I would come in a car with, the red lights, policeman, and okay. So, and they thought I would get jobs for all the people in my village. Nothing of that happened. So people are very disappointed with me. But it depends on what you want. I said, you all have to make choice according to, your interest. AIS is definitely is a more challenging service, more interesting, and tough one also, because you have to deal with all these corrupt politicians and criminals, and it's risky. Your decision can mean life or death for many people, or loss or gain of crores of rupees for many people. So you play high stakes game, and you are on the wrong side, you get killed or you get sidelined, and you face problems. Because if you are one honest person of integrity and around many of your colleagues who are crooks, then you are done in. Okay, so you need remarkable courage and balance and maturity to survive and face the challenges. But it's a very interesting job. Today you are district collector, you are a king, and tomorrow you are agriculture secretary or IT secretary or corporation chief. It's just very, very interesting. Fascinating. You move from place to place. It opens you up a whole new world. Every 2-3 years, and it's interesting. You learn and you do things which are more useful and important for people in the country, people in your area. It's interesting. In foreign service, your role is very marginal because you are out. You spend 2/3 of your career outside the country, only 1/3 here. And we don't have power, is it? This is the finance ministry. But there it's a different experience. Because every 3 years you change countries, you go to a new country, you learn language, you make new friends, and then there, as an ambassador, all the doors are open to you. You can walk into the office of a president, prime minister, or finance minister, or you can get the gates of the jail open to see an Indian who is in jail there. When I was in Argentina, I used to play golf in all the best golf courses there. So, the ambassador gives you a magical designation. And you sign on agreements on behalf of the President of India, which is more powerful than even a cabinet minister. Because a cabinet minister, they're like Minister of Transport. If he comes to Argentina to sign an agreement, he has to be authorized by the President. Whereas you as ambassador, you represent the President directly. That's why they call us ambassador extraordinary and plenipotentiary. So you have the authority to sign agreements, do things. So it gives a big ego boost. And of course, you keep saying cheers, you have a lot of receptions and cocktails, and and you meet interesting people. You meet artists, you meet scientists, you meet academics, you meet business people. You interact with a whole range of people, and they are the top people in each country. You meet the best people. So it gives you a new perspective. It enriches your life in a more unique way than what you get in other services. So if you are inclined for a three-letter F word, yeah, sure. Yeah, anything you want to ask about foreign policy or international affairs? Well, for those of you who didn't hear, here is something, and not only I talk about sex, she's also talking about sex. You know, sorry. I just want to get the attention of everyone. You see, that is something which people, I talk about international affairs, foreign policy, we will go to sleep. So, she's asking about casual sexism and how to curb it. This is, you see, there are three stages in our life. One is when you are absolutely innocent and ignorant, you see what other people do. You learn your mother tongue not by reading and writing, but you see what other people and you learn to do walking not because of any therapy or exercise. You just see other people doing walking, you do that. So as a kid, you 100% learn from others. You imitate the others. Right? You see what other people do, what other people say, you follow that. That is how we all grow when we are children. When we are innocent and ignorant, we don't know, we just follow. So that is where the adults, they have a responsibility to see that the children get the right example, the right behavior, the right language. Now, there's a lot of crime happening in United States and in Brazil because of broken families. The mother is a drug addict and father is in jail, and they are confused, and they've got wrong company, and so that's why a lot of kids, go berserk and get into all kinds of crime. But if they have the nurturing mentorship and role model of the adults, elders, it could be elder brother or the sister or its parents or friends, automatically the kid grows in that way. Most cases. So, so the adults have a responsibility, and they're very in dealing with kids and in their formative age. But later it is their choice. After they become teenagers, then they get to know the world, and they decide for themselves. It's totally different. But until then, they just see what other people do and they just imitate and follow.
brushed off as something light. How do you really handle those situations? Sorry if I ask in particular the mini skirt joke that was passed. So how appropriate is that, setting in a professional setting when people in power are saying that?
You caught me. I wouldn't have used that with my colleagues because they might take me to court or get me fired from the service. So the men have to be very careful in what they say. I agree, it is completely inappropriate, but I I use it deliberately just to provoke you because otherwise you get bored, studying, politics and public administration and international affairs. After all, you are all going to be big administrators and collectors and big people. You must know all sides, huh? And it's better you learn this from me rather than from some other sources, huh? So you have to know. That is why I wanted to provoke, and I deliberately I talk about sex because that is one subject which young people are interested. I could have given a talk last time. I gave about international affairs and Indian foreign policy, but there also I had to use a lot of sex jokes. Yeah. Who was my mentor? I had in various stages, depending upon, like for example, I told you the book I read, Malarhalile Aval Malli Hai, Hindu Mari's book. I tried to read it now, but it didn't strike a chord. It didn't hit the button in me as it did when I studied in my college. I tried to read Parthiban Kanavu now. Huh? But it doesn't evoke the same kind of sensation I had in those days. So, with your growth, with your maturity, with your experience, with your exposure, things change at different levels. I grew in a village where my mother is completely illiterate. He knows the time by the bus. 6 bus, 7 bus, 8 bus. That's how she knows timing. Okay? And my father was a semi-literate. He can read a few numbers, like in cards, ace, jack, queen, he knows. And the other thing he knew is drinking. Okay? So we had half acre of land, and with this passion for cards and liquor, nothing could be done. But fortunately, I had an uncle in another place who brought me up. So I was taken at the age of 3.5 to my uncle's place. And that's where I went to school. And there, my uncle thought he had no children. So he thought I would follow in his footsteps. He had about 10 acres of land. He thought I would plow the land, look after the cattle, would become a Vivasai. Okay? So that's what he thought. So after, this is elementary school in the village. So after each year, first year, second year, he would say, enough, now come back. But because it's in the village school, the teachers are a bit strong, so they told the uncle, shut up, he has to come to school. So I finished the school. And then after 5th grade, I had to go to 6th grade. The nearest school was 4 kilometers. A place called Mariamman Koil. It's not a high school, it's a higher secondary school. What's that? Higher elementary school. It was from 6th to 8th. And my neighbors, they went there. So my uncle had no choice to let me also. So we used to go by walk. On the way, there's a pond. We would go and take a dip quickly, cool ourselves. Because before going to school, you have to work. You have to take the cattle, you feed, you have to cut grass, you have to plow, you have to do all the things. And then afterwards, you have something quick to eat and then run full 4 kilometers. And I finished the 8th grade. When I was doing 8th grade, I was lucky. School got upgraded to a high school. Otherwise, I had to go to Tanjore another 8 kilometers. So the higher elementary school became high school. So we were the first batch, 9th grade, 10th grade, which means there were no teachers. Because the government school, they started the school, but the teachers, there would be 1 or 2, and so we finished the school. Then when I finished the school, then my uncle said, enough, the cattle are waiting for you. And he believed in Urdundu Valvare Valvar. Okay. But luckily for me, there was this college called Pundi, Pushpam College, 4 kilometers to the east. The high school was to the west. So I got scholarship, and the scholarship was more than the fees. So I bought my first pair of trousers. Okay, so I used to go to college, and it was east. So after working, and then you run to the college, going against the sun. So I reached the college, and since I was a short boy, so I was always made to sit in the front like you. Okay, so I would sit in the front, and there was a fan next to the lecturer. Immediately go to sleep. So I slept in all the first periods throughout the college till I finished my BSc. The first class, I go and sit there after the walk against the sun, the fan, but the professor would not look at me. He would look at all these people who create trouble at the back seats. They wouldn't look at the one in the front. And I had also perfected the technique. And I couldn't take notes. I would start writing. Sometimes when I go to sleep, then it all became one single line. So I used to borrow notes from other people. And there, in one chemistry exams, I managed to get first mark. I don't know how, And there was a lecturer, and he was surprised that, a village guy coming from, the name of my village was Rara Muttirai Kottai. No one could pronounce it correctly. Okay. So he found it interesting that this boy from Rara Muttirai Kottai managed to get first mark in chemistry. And then he would, this was in my pre-university, then he would call me every time as Mr. First Mark. And that boosted me like Chandrayaan. Otherwise I was, a village kid going with the Vesti and, all these kids coming from Tanjore, the chain pulling gang. And I always had this complex, I was very afraid, timid, and so when this professor, lecturer in front of everyone called me as Mr. First Mark. It's like the Dale Carnegie's. I told you the dog is cute. So like that, he said Mr. First Mark. And that boosted my ego. So I thought, I could also get first mark. And that teacher, when I finished my pre-university, then he's a chemistry lecturer. So he said, of course, you should do BSc chemistry. Because he was a chemistry lecturer. So I joined BSc chemistry. And when I finished that, then by the time my uncle became very old, and my aunt thought Okay. Anyway, I was unfit for agriculture and I was not doing it with my passion and vision. I had no passion, no vision for agriculture. I did it for work. And so she gave me some money, and so I came to Madras, Chennai for MSc chemistry. I joined the wrong college called Pachepas College. When I went for the interview, the UPSC interview, so one of the interviewers was a Tamil lady, and she knew about Pachepas College. Huh? Huh? Probably she was ragged by the students from Pachepas College. So, so when I said Pachepas College, she got a shock. Huh? So I did my college, the MSc, and at the time I had no dream or ambition, no project, nothing. I had some interest in Tamil poem, since I was romantic. And in fact, even I applied for MA in Tamil literature. I wanted to become a poet and write poems. But then this chemistry professor told me, don't be a fool, and you can pursue your literary interest from chemistry or as a professional, but don't take it as a profession. The scope is limited. So I did my MSc chemistry. Then when I finished, I was lucky. I got a job in Trichy. There's a college called Bishop Weaver College. I was called a demonstrator, low-level lecturer. And then there was a vacancy in Pachepas College. The professor, who was the chief, who was the principal of the college, he knew me. And he said, here is a vacancy. If you want, you can come and join. So I came and joined there. And that's when I found the guy next to me. He was my classmate. During the break, we would all have coffee and gossip and do all kinds of things. But this guy was seriously reading. What are you doing? I'm preparing for IAS exam. Show me the books. Can I join you? Yeah, why not? He had appeared the first time. He didn't make it. I was preparing for the second time. So like a fool, I just followed him. If he is doing it, why not? So, that's why I said you need admirer, mentor, and a competitor. If it was not for him, I wouldn't have known. And he was preparing himself to join me. Join and prepared, and to my great surprise, I got selected in the written exam. Those days there was no preliminary. Then we were called for interview, and he also got selected. So there's one more guy. So we all bought suitcases and we bought suit, took Tamil Nadu Express, went to Delhi. We went 15 days before the interview because we may not get another opportunity to come to Delhi. So let's do sightseeing. So we did the sightseeing, went to Agra, Mathura, and all the Golden Triangle. We did all the sightseeing. And then appeared for the interview. Lucky, got selected. But my friend didn't get selected. He got selected in the income tax service. And then he joined the income tax and retired. But it was because of him. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known. So that is why you need to have these three kinds of people, admirers, competitors, and mentors. And this guy was my competitor peer. It was because of him I wrote. Otherwise, I enjoyed teaching. I like my teaching job, and it's very good. And I liked because, teaching job is one in which you get instant gratification, instant satisfaction. You don't have to wait for the results of the exam. You see from the shining of the eyes of your students, the smile that they have learned something. You were interesting. You opened their eyes. So I enjoyed it. But there was no money. I got 600 rupees a month. So I thought, this civil service exam, I'll get more salary. So So that's why I call myself as an accidental ambassador. I joined the foreign service out of sheer ignorance. So that's why I believe in, as I said, the more you practice, the luckier you get. First you do one shot out of 10, and then you do 2, 3, 4, 6, you practice. So like that, when you do that, you develop the ecosystem. You develop competitors, admirers, the contacts, and you come across books. And so it's, but basically, I would say more than people, it was the books. I told you, starting from Malar Galile Aval Malligai, up to Love at the Time of Cholera. And these were the books which helped me to overcome the realities and introduce fantasies and imagination and dream. I was lucky. Have I answered you? Okay. What's the time? Hmm? Oh, 2 hours 40 minutes. Huh? 140. Oops. Okay, so I thank all of you and wish you all the best. And as I said, I live in Gurgaon. So when you come and join the service, come and see me. Okay. My email address is in my website. You can contact me in WhatsApp and email, and I would be delighted to see you joining service. That's why I've taken the photographs. All the best.